for us, it wasn't about fear of failure. It was about fear of not doing what you think you're passionate about doing.
I love that.
Right. And so there's so many no's in your head. But if you just say out loud, I'm going to do this, and you say it out loud, so it forces you to do it. Right. Because the ideas you have in your head are much different than when you say it out loud and you present the fact that you are, in fact, the train has left the station. You are doing this.
Welcome to the Women on the Move podcast. I'm your host, Sam Saperstein. We're doing something new this season. We're adding video to our podcast. So you'll not only get to hear, but also see our executives and leaders as they talk about their careers and personal journeys. We'll talk about the topics we've always covered, like ambition, leadership, driving change, and building networks. We'll learn about how our guests have defined their paths, pursued their goals, and led with purpose. You'll hear real-life stories of women who have integrated their personal values with their organizational goals to achieve transformational initiatives. We hope you'll learn tips that will help you identify your purpose, refine your leadership style, and help you achieve your goals. Women on the Move is an initiative by JPMorgan Chase to create a more equitable future. We empower women to achieve financial well-being, grow their businesses, and advance their careers. Together, we fuel women's ambitions and provide equitable pathways for those in our community. Thank you for joining us. So let's lead together with purpose. In this episode, I'm speaking with one of the co-founders of 21 Seeds Tequila, Nicole Emanuel. Nicole, alongside her sister Kat and their friend Sarika, embarked on a journey that would not only disrupt the alcohol industry, but also embody empowerment, innovation, and inclusivity. Through their brand, they've crafted more than just a spirit. They've created a movement that celebrates friendship, authenticity, and the bold pursuit of dreams. Join us as we explore Nicole's remarkable journey and the inspiring story behind 21 Seeds Tequila. Nicole, welcome to the Women on the Move podcast. It's great to have you on with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so beyond excited to be here.
Well, it's great to be here with you and try this new format out with you. So you are our first guest in this format. We're really excited about that. So let us talk about 21 Seeds. Would love to hear the origin stories behind it. What led you to create this company and especially this brand and this product?
Yeah. So my sister actually came up with this idea. She built it out of necessity. She loved wine. She was a wine drinker. Wine did not love her. And she realized that she had to move away from wine and wanted to move to a distilled spirit like Blanco tequila. But she thought tequila was pretty harsh. She didn't really love the taste. And she loved the ritual of the lean back, unwind with a glass of wine that she wasn't getting like with a shot of tequila.
Right.
Her new goal in life was to figure out how to make this tequila as easy to drink as a glass of wine. Big cook. She's an amazing cook. Started infusing her own tequila in a filter. And her first infusion actually was a cucumber jalapeno. And she did that happily, just to drink it for herself, for her friends, for about 8 years. And everybody was asking her, can I have more of your tequila? At some point, I couldn't even get to parties without bringing my sister's tequila. And she looked at me, her sister. I like to remind everybody I'm her little sister. And our friend Sarika, and said, do you guys want to start a tequila company?
Wow.
And off we went. And we launched it in 2019. And then we quickly sold it to Diageo in 3 years in 2022.
Oh, congratulations. That is unbelievable. What a journey. But I love the fact she was creating this for 8 years at home in her kitchen, like many small businesses or many high growth businesses start with a need and something she found personally she wanted. Why did you decide yourself to join her? What was attractive about either being in business with your sister or this particular product?
Yeah. So I always tease that Kat's like Walt Disney and I'm Roy Disney. I'm better behind the scenes, like business side of things. She's definitely the visionary. And in order to, kind of jump into this journey, all three of us actually, Sarika, myself, and Kat, we walked down the tequila aisle to see, like, is what's happening in Kat's kitchen actually available in store? Like, is there something that's speaking to women that want lower ABV, cleaner, easier to drink, tequila,
Yeah.
like with a hint of flavor, right? Is that even happening? We walked down the tequila aisle. We saw what we call the sea of sameness.
Mm,
There was nothing. It was all like very serious tequila meant to
right.
be sipped, and appreciated, and not like fun tequila where you were just enjoying it like a spritz like we were at our
Yeah.
house,
Yeah.
right? And then we went down to Mexico to see if we could even infuse it. Like if we could actually do
Mm,
what Kat was doing it in her
on a
kitchen
larger
at
scale.
scale,
Right.
right? And when we went to Mexico, we realized that no one really was doing what we were trying to accomplish. And
Mm,
we met this amazing distillery partner who's actually also female owned
love
and
that.
founded.
That's great.
And she took a chance with us, and we started this journey together to make exactly what Kat was making in our kitchen at scale, because we wouldn't do it unless it was exactly that.
So I love that. So tell me how you experimented with flavors. And if you're the customer buying this and drinking this, what
Yeah.
do you want them to feel? What's that experience you want them to have?
Well, the very first thing we wanted to make sure is we delivered on the promise we made. We wanted whatever looked at outside the bottle to be what you were drinking.
Great.
So we didn't want to put cucumber jalapeno on the outside of the bottle if that's not what you're drinking inside the
So the
bottle.
flavor had to be really
It had to be
distinct in
perfect.
there.
It was just a hint. For us, it's like Blanco with profiles,
Mm,
right? We have 3 infusions. We have grapefruit hibiscus, Valencia orange, and cucumber jalapeno.
mm.
And it's just lower ABV at 35%. We always want things to be refreshing, light, like we were drinking it in
Yes.
Kat's house,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
As a spritz, just our seed and soda is what we call it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Just add a little bit to just make a perfect cocktail that you can enjoy. Yeah.
Tell me how your background influenced you in making the company, the product.
Yeah.
What was it about your upbringing or what you learned also about business in your own career that you brought into this venture?
Well, the first thing is that we're Greek and Sarika's Indian. So working with your family was not a like unknown
Right.
idea,
Yeah.
right? We were very comfortable with working with family. Like it wasn't a big deal, even though people are like, never go with in business with your friends or family. I say if you're spending most of your time,
With them
go in
anyway.
business with your friends and
Yeah.
your family, and
Yeah.
hopefully it'll work out, right? And so for that, and my mom came to this country when we were little
Mm,
with, as a single mother with 3 girls.
wow.
So we knew that like if you want to make something happen, you have to make it happen for yourself.
Mm,
So none of us were really scared of trying something,
mm.
because for us we were doing it because we wanted this product to be real,
Mm,
right? It
that's
wasn't
great.
to be a gazillionaire or whatever it was. It was we wanted to drink this product. And
Yeah,
so let's bring it out to the market so we can drink this product.
that's great. And it sounded like you were willing to take risks and that
Yes.
being independent or pursuing an independent career path or just way to sustain yourself was in the DNA for you.
Yeah. For us, it wasn't about fear of failure. It
Mm,
was about fear of not doing what you think
mm,
you're passionate about doing.
I love that.
Right. And so there's so many no's in your head. But if you just say out loud, I'm going to do this, and you say it out loud, so it forces you to
Right,
do it,
right, right.
right? Because the ideas you have in your head are much different than when you say it out loud and you present the fact that you are, in fact, the train has left the station. You are doing this.
That's accountability.
And yeah, and that's what you got to do. And the
Mm,
fact that I had 2 co founders, that we had each other's backs,
mm.
that we trusted immensely, like, was ready to run.
You're making me think of research that shows it's the regret of what you didn't do that's more powerful than the
Yes.
regret of what you did do, even if you failed. And so I'm really happy to hear that you took that on. So you talked about your sister and your friend as co-founders.
Mhm.
How did you think about dividing responsibilities for the company? Was there a natural way, a natural role that each of you had, or did you one of you kind of go into something that was new for you?
No, it was very natural, right? We have all very different personalities.
Mm.
What I absolutely love doing, Kat, I think it would be like death to her, and vice versa.
Perfect.
And so we all really had our lanes. And I think that's what allowed us to run faster,
Mm.
right? Because other than some things that as a founding team, we wanted all buy in for,
Right, right.
we really stayed in our lanes in order to run, and we trusted each other. Again, it does go back to trust of like, knowing that you trust their judgment, you
Yeah.
trust how they're going to do it. And so a lot of the stuff that I did on the business and operations side,
Yeah.
it was really like they just checked the box in terms of like, coming to me about questions, but really we were in our own lanes.
Well, so tell me about how you tapped in prior business experiences and skills to do these roles at the
Well,
company.
I was the CFO of many different companies
Mm.
and CEO of a few. So that was already my skill set. My sister was a film producer. So her life was
She could
about
tell a story.
storytelling.
Yes.
So for her, it was a natural, she understands the audience, she understands the consumer. So for
That's
her, it was
great.
just very much a natural transition. And Sarika always did things relating to organic foods and
Mm.
product, never in
Mm.
spirits, but definitely from concept to shelf
Yeah.
in food. And so we used our backgrounds to really accelerate the speed of trying to do this. We
I love that.
actually, from concept to shelf, did it within a year, which
Wow.
is really quick for a small company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I love it. So you were the finance person and operations, sort of made
Yep.
the numbers work as well as
Yes.
the logistics. Your sister took the storytelling into the product that
Hmm.
Sarika could develop. So it sounds like you had that dream team. I mean, everybody really doing the most important functions early.
Yeah.
Did you have a particular time where it didn't go according to plan in early product design or even sampling the
Yeah.
product itself? Tell us about that. Like, what was that failure that
I
you might have
I
encountered?
don't know if it was a failure as much as just as a startup, it's never gonna be the way no one has a
Mm,
crystal ball. So if you
right.
think it's smooth sailing and you don't have a big appetite for
The waves.
chaos,
Yeah, yeah.
it is not for you, my friend,
Yes, yes.
right? So, I find order in chaos, but some people don't. And
Mm,
so every day was a new thing that we had to figure out or new, during COVID, the government shut down. And so what was going to happen with their labels in Mexico and just
mm,
whatever it is,
right.
there's always something. I actually get energy from that, like problem solving. Some people don't,
No,
but I
right.
found energy from that. So for me, it was fine. But yes, every day was a new, like, what's happening today?
Well,
And
especially during COVID, so you
yes,
launched this the year before, and
yes.
then, as you said, things shut down,
Mhm,
commerce really came to a halt, people weren't going out anymore.
mhm.
What did you have to do in those days to pivot, to really change your
We were
strategy?
set up pretty nicely because our go-to-market strategy was completely different than the spirits industry. In the spirits
Mm,
industry, you went to on-premise, which are bars, restaurants, had the consumer taste it,
right,
and
right.
then moved to off-premise. That's typically the go-to-market strategy for spirits. That was not our strategy. We knew who our consumer was. Our consumer was her, which
Mm,
was us,
mm,
and we never went to a bartender and asked for the history of agave. Like that was not, we were maybe at a date night or a girls' dinner or whatever. And
yes,
we
yes,
just
yes.
wanted our cocktail and we wanted to sit down. So we wanted to find her where she was. Right. And so for us, our go to market strategy was where does she shop? Where's
Mm,
she at? What's, what events is she at? Where's she looking on social media for um, inspiration.
mm,
So for us, we didn't have to pivot because we were already there. And so that
that's
gave us
great.
an advantage.
Yeah, so you weren't at the bar only.
No.
Or at all, you were in the supermarket or out with women where they were congregating or, as you
Yep.
say, social media. That is great.
Yeah.
Um, and did you learn anything new about your consumer, your target audience along the way? Something that's might have surprised you about that demographic?
What I was surprised about is I thought that there would be, that everyone would like one SKU, maybe two
Mm,
SKUs.
the different products,
Of the
meaning.
different products, yeah. So, like, we have 3 infusions, cucumber jalapeno, grapefruit hibiscus, and Valencia orange.
Mm.
And what was really interesting is our consumers would come to us and explain to us why we should have a favorite.
That's
And so
great.
that was
Like a
really
favorite child. How can you
yes,
really do that?
yes. And so it was really nice to see that all of them played really nicely with each other and that there
Mm,
wasn't one that cannibalized the other. And so that was something that you don't know until,
that's great.
you launch and you hope for the best.
So is there sort of team cucumber out there and team Valencia out
Yes,
there? They're very distinct?
they're distinct. But, like a lot of them also, we learned that a lot of them actually drink more than one.
Mm.
So a lot of times when you have um, a flavored spirit, you're one team.
Yeah,
We see it where there are multiple teams.
that is great.
So,
That is great to know.
and we actually didn't, none of us were flavored spirit drinkers.
Mm,
Like for us, this is an actual infusion. This is an easier drinking Blanco tequila
mm,
with a profile. That's how we see
mm.
it. We don't flavor it, we infuse it. So for us, we wanted something that tasted not like pure tequila, but was light and refreshing. So,
I love that. So, talk to us about the spirits industry. So, very male dominated,
yep.
as you said, had very distinct ways of doing things,
Hmm.
distribution for sure.
Hmm.
How did you come into it as three women, founders of this business?
Yeah.
What did you encounter? Were there any resistance you think because you were women? And if not, what do you think made it better? Just love to hear that angle.
I think the good thing about being women in an industry that's male dominated, and by the way, so many industries are male dominated. So
They still are.
hashtag there's many,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
But in our particular case, it forces you to have a different point of view. So
Mm.
you stand out much more. I mean, there was about 1,000 tequilas coming into market per year,
Oh my
right?
goodness.
There was a
That is
lot of
saturated.
new um, brands, innovation, stuff that was happening.
Yeah.
So in order to get through the noise, we were actually very lucky that we had a very different go-to-market
Mm.
strategy, a
Mm.
very different brand story, a different consumer who we were reaching.
Yeah.
And so for us, it helped us stand out. So it was actually a win for us to
Yeah.
be females and be different. And a lot of people helped us along the way, both females and males along
That's
the
great.
way to help us succeed because we were different and they didn't have this in their portfolio or in their distribution or
Mm.
something like
So it
that.
really complemented other things.
Yes.
I mean, I love even how you picked the name 21 Seeds. You want to tell the story about that?
Yes. So 21 Seeds is actually 2-1. It's
Mhm.
two sisters and one friend.
Love that.
So Kat and I are sisters and Sarika's our friend. And seeds because everything we put into the tequila come from the ground.
That is great. Feels organic right
Yeah.
there. And I also love the hashtag you use, hashtag girls call the shots.
Yes.
I mean, I just love that. It works so well here. Why was that? Why did that resonate with you? When you hit upon that, were you thinking like, yes, this is it?
It was more about just like empowering us to just take a leap of faith and do what you want to do. It's like, it's fine. We weren't
Mm,
trying to be preachy. We weren't trying to be like, one way. And we weren't trying to be excluding guys either.
mm.
It's just us girls, our friends, and if you want to do it, just do it. So that's why it was important to us.
Tell us about networking and how that helped you build this business, either networking among people you might have known, maybe someone tapped their former networks, or how you might have had to build new relationships to get this company off the ground. And I'm thinking in particular how you went to Mexico and found the right suppliers.
Yeah.
How did just networking in general come to play for you?
I mean, I think before networking, I think the very first step is to say whatever you're thinking out loud to anyone that will listen to you. So
Yeah.
many people are afraid to say their ideas out loud
Yeah.
because someone's going to steal it or someone. No one's stealing your idea. No one's going to be building infrastructure down in Mexico to
Right.
steal
Not
your
that
idea,
easy. Not that easy.
right? And so I think the very first step is to tell everybody because you don't know who's
Mm,
actually going to be able to help you and or who's going to be your biggest cheerleader
right.
and all of that support. So dream out loud, right? Is what I would say to first,
Mm,
right?
great.
And when you do that, it's so amazing how many people do want to support you
Mm,
and do want to help you. And that's experience creates one type of network, but just being around people that and sharing stories and telling them what you're into and what motivates you is another type of network. And that also leads to quite an incredible network.
mm, that is great. That's a great advice, I think, for anybody, whether they're starting a business or in a corporate path for their career, being very vocal and articulate about what they want, because otherwise it's harder for people to help you and they might
Yes.
not have you top of mind, right? They are looking for people. You're a numbers lady, so
Mhm.
you like the numbers. I'm
Yes.
sure focus on them quite a bit. What metrics did you look at when you were launching the business, growing the business? What was most important to you at certain stages, whether that was early or as you were getting ready to sell the company?
It's really funny because I am a numbers person. So I am very much data oriented, right? And my sister's very much inspiration
Yes,
oriented.
yes.
And Sarika and I both are data oriented,
Got
right?
it. So two
Uh,
against one here
two
on
against
the
one
numbers
here,
win.
but
Okay.
all are important. Um, but in the industry, there's certain thresholds, and I asked this question very
Mm,
early on
mm,
because for me, I want to know how to measure success,
yes.
right? So I said to our distributors, "What success? In year one, what do you have to hit for it to be successful, to
Hmm.
be top of mind for you?
Yeah.
In year two, what number do I need to hit for me to be top of mind for you?" Number 3, year 3 and so on,
Yeah.
And so it was really an interesting conversation that I had with our distributor that said, if you can get to 1,000 cases,
Mm,
1,000 9-liter cases, you've gone beyond your pockets of impact, your friends, your network. That's like other people know your brand outside of your own personal influence.
right, right.
If you get to 10,000 cases, you actually have a brand,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
And if you get to 50,000 cases, you're not going anywhere, right?
Right,
And so those were actually our internal kind of
right.
like check the box when we can get to these um, thresholds.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
and
that's a great way to
milestones.
think about that. And I'm not in the beverage industry, so I never knew that those existed that
I didn't
way.
either.
Yeah. And
But
when you achieved each of those, first of all, tell us what made that difference to get to each stage.
yeah,
And how did you feel when you achieved each of those?
for us, it was just in our background, it was we wanted to be a household name. We
Mm,
still want to be a household
mm,
name. That is never changed, right? And we want to always deliver on the promise that we make to the consumer that it's going to taste delicious, refreshing, and light, right? That is our number
yeah.
one, what we care about. Beyond that, we cared about hitting these things because it made the relationships we had to be top of mind, right?
Right,
To
right.
be still distributed across the country, to still be important to the retailers and everybody because we're hitting these huge numbers year over year. But for us, it was really all of what the consumer feedback was that
Mm.
really kept us like, yes, we are delivering on the promise we're making. Yes, people are enjoying it. And those types of we've had probably 5 wedding invitations to come to people's weddings. Like,
Oh,
those
wow.
things make it worth it.
Yeah, I bet. And when you're on the menu at the weddings, that's
Yes.
even better.
Yes.
So tell us about that moment when you got into your first big retailer. How did you feel? And what was the reaction from the team?
We had this moment of happiness, and then that turned into pure panic at,
Yes.
like, about a minute after
Right,
that.
right. When realization sets in.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was a really big retailer in California. They had 146 locations. We
Amazing.
thought we would get maybe 20 locations, maybe 1 or 2 of our infusions would land on the shelf as a test. That's kind of the expectations they set
Mm,
for us.
mm.
We were doing our first run down in Mexico. Our distillery is actually in the town of Tequila, Mexico, which is kind of
Unbelievable.
fun.
Perfect.
And we were down there to do our first run. We were doing a small run because it was our first run.
Right.
And we got this PO,
This order, purchase order.
yes, this
Okay.
purchase order. And it was for all 146 stores, all 3 SKUs.
Wow.
And we went into a cheerleading huddle, started jumping up and down,
Right.
could not control our excitement. And then you just saw the panic set in. Like, we better deliver on this.
It's
It
real
better
now.
be as delicious as we showed up
Mm,
at that retailer and said it would be.
love
And
that.
so it was great.
That is
It turned
great.
out all great. We're
Yes,
here
yes,
today. So
yes.
it turned out
The team
fantastic.
rallied. I love
Yes.
that. So then after your huddle, you turned to the team and you said, how are we going to do this? Did you have to hire more people all of a
Nope. We
sudden
looked at
overnight?
Sarika and said, good luck, babe.
Get going, get working.
Yes.
That's amazing. So you had what you felt was in that first order, enough resources, the right
Yes.
people to get that done.
Yes.
And so what was the next inflection point where you thought, okay, now we have to grow the company to achieve that higher scale and volume?
Well, I think we were really lucky because we had a lot of early adopters of
Mm,
our brand, and they happened to be celebrities,
yes. Yes.
right?
Tell us about those.
And so, Katie Couric put us on her holiday gift guide. And then because of that, the Today Show found us and we were on the
Mm.
Today Show. And then we were in Oprah's favorites
Oh,
and
you can't get
just
bigger.
Jessica Alba and Naomi Watts. And it just kept on going and going. Our first year, we spent $4,000 in marketing. Like
That
we
is
spent nothing.
unbelievable. Nothing.
Yeah. And so for us, we really were fortunate that our consumers that were finding us were also celebrities
Right.
that were
Right.
talking about us, right? And so uh our consumer is a powerful OG influencer.
Yes.
She likes it. She's going to tell 8 of her friends that she also likes it,
That's incredible.
and
And
it's
you don't get
incredible.
that organically without something
No.
real,
Yeah.
something that the product is doing for you value wise, but certainly affinity wise.
Yeah.
And it's probably, they love the way it tasted, but you really made a lot about community, right? Girlfriends going out, sharing this together.
Yes.
That is a whole other level of what a product can bring to you in terms of
And
happiness
easy,
and
right?
easy.
Like no one wants to do math when they're trying to do a cocktail,
Right,
right?
right,
They're
right.
not they're not
I like
they
a
want to
good pour. That's it.
yeah, pour maybe some club soda, maybe
Mm,
some flavored club soda. That's it.
that's it.
Just super easy, which is what you want.
So, with all those influencers and ambassadors behind you, how did you start to think about branding or positioning or even fashion, if I say?
Mhm.
How do you think about using that organic community to help further grow?
Yeah, so we always wanted to affiliate ourselves with brands that had similar value systems. A lot of the brands that we connected with early on were also female founded and female owned. We did a collab with Birdies, which was super
Fantastic.
fun.
Yes.
Tequila sneakers. I'm wearing them right now, actually. So that was really fun. And that's what, again, like I said, we like to be where she is.
Yes.
So, and we wanted to support other female brands. A lot of female brands wanted to support us as well.
That's
So
great.
it was really a collaborative environment,
Yeah,
which
I
was
love
really
that.
nice. Yeah.
And I hope that really encourages more women to seek out others who can help complement them.
Yeah.
Brands working together, influencers, just whether it's advice or not, or just the product and how it comes to life. I think that's so important. And that's wonderful
Definitely.
to hear. Tell us about sustainability. So, how do you think about that in the context of the products? And what steps are you taking to ensure it's a sustainable product?
Yeah. So Diageo at large has a huge sustainability plan.
Yeah.
It's called the 2030 plan. And so they are moving away from plastics in certain products and going to glass. That's always been top of mind on how to do sustainability
Yeah.
in either the CPG product itself or the water that they use
Mm,
or the waste, all of it.
yeah.
So
So, it's all factored in.
mhm.
So I'd like to take a step back and then talk about when you were getting that company ready to sell this. First
Yes.
of all, was this part of the plan in terms of the timing? Did you always plan to sell when you did? Or did it come earlier than you thought? Tell us how that all worked out.
So the answer is yes to everything.
Mhm,
No.
mhm.
Um, we didn't plan to sell in 3 years,
I mean,
you
that's
know?
very short.
Um,
That is, people are
yes.
still building companies and brands or pivoting products at that point. So that's really
Yeah,
quick.
we passed all the thresholds we needed to pass, so we checked off all those boxes to our distributors, and they were
Amazing.
all happy with us,
Yeah.
and because we grew so quickly, um, and we really wanted to find for us, it wasn't about, exiting and having this big exit and that sort of thing. It was more about who's gonna be the right partner to
Mm,
move this as what was my first success goal, a
mm,
household name, right?
right. Right.
And who could do that with us. And so when we looked around to see who that was, right? Diageo really stood out. They have a lot of female leadership. They understood our
Mm,
positions in the market. We felt like we had great representation because of that female leadership. And Diageo is a powerful tequila house. So we wanted to be affiliated with a powerhouse like that.
mm. I love that.
Yeah.
Clearly, they thought this was complementary to the other products that they already had.
Mhm.
And so, from their perspective, what do you think made 21 Seeds stand out to them in terms of its differentiation?
I think a few things. One, we brought tequila in the household,
Mm,
right? So people were
versus the
drinking.
bar where they were out
That's
drinking. Now
right.
they're drinking at home. Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So we were drinking it and our consumers were drinking it just like my sister was,
Yeah.
right? In a wine glass as a spritz, and that relaxed, unwind occasion
It's really
during
a
the
different
wine
experience.
occasion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so we were part of that occasion. We had a 80% consumer rate of females.
Mm,
So you don't usually see that unless it's champagne or wine, but you
right.
don't see that in the tequila category.
That's incredible.
And so we brought a lot of and a different perspective
Yeah.
and innovation in the tequila category
Do you
at
think it
large.
made more women drink tequila who didn't before? Did it bring new
I think it
consumers?
helped because I think a lot of, first of all, females do have a different palate than males do.
Mm,
And I think that nobody, men or women, want something harsh. And so I think it
yeah.
was a nice kind of lean into this tequila aisle that you may have been afraid of before.
Mm,
And so a lot of people that were drinking wine and champagne did move over to the tequila aisle to drink our 21 Seeds. And it was really interesting because when people buy our tequila, it's not like they buy a tequila and then our infused tequila.
mm,
They buy our tequila or they don't buy tequila.
right. Right.
So it's not like flavored spirits at
So
all.
you're really bringing a new consumer into the market. You're
That's right.
expanding the consumption pie, if you will, which that is really innovation right there. It's not
Yeah.
incremental building on something. I think that's great. How do you think about then supporting other women in the industry? Are there initiatives you're involved in, whether it's informal or formal
Mhm.
networking or just other things
Yeah.
that you do?
Well, first, let me just say, I don't think, even if you're in a competitive space, if you're a woman, I will support you no matter what.
Mm.
I don't care if you're in the spirits industry, outside of the spirits
All
industry,
right, we're
it
taking
doesn't
notes.
matter.
We're taking notes.
It doesn't matter because it's all about the support. And it costs you nothing to support another woman.
I love
Like
that.
literally. So that is one thing. Mentoring, I'd love to mentor. I've done that throughout my career, and I've been lucky enough to be able to do that throughout my career. I put my money where my mouth is. I invest in women and I invest in their products. My whole stack here is mostly
The
female owned.
jewelry, I see.
Yes, my
Beautiful.
makeup is 13 Loon
Oh,
and Relevant and Nikeo and so just all of it, from our collabs that we do are female owned and founded.
that's
Um,
great.
so we try to support wherever we can. But I always say if anyone wants to DM me because I'm happy to always support another woman.
Oh, well, thank you on behalf of the community. That's great. And you will get people reaching out. So tell us about the legacy you would love to leave. And I'm thinking about your own children. What do you
Yeah.
tell them, the younger generation, about leadership or entrepreneurship and the difference that you can make?
So I have a son and a daughter, and I want them to understand that in the household, you can have whatever role you'd like to have,
Mm,
right? And that every role is important,
mhm,
right? And so if I'm building a company, great. If you want to build a company, you can. You have to not be so risk adverse that you can't jump and chase your dreams.
mm.
And that's the kind of environment I want to create for my family, for my friends, for my children, and all of that. So that's important to me. And that really started with my mother changing her whole life
Mm.
when we migrated here, when we were little. She showed us that we could do anything is possible. And I really believe that.
Oh, I love that. I mean, it's a long-lasting legacy that apparently she left to you and that you'll leave further on. So I think that's wonderful. I just want to say thank you so much for being here, Nicole. It is so great to speak with you. I wish we could be drinking right now, but we will save that for another time. But thank you for all you've done to really show women what they can achieve too in entrepreneurship and beyond. So
Thank you.
thanks for joining. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Nicole Emanuel of 21 Seeds Tequila. I love Nicole's advice to take risks on yourself as an entrepreneur or even in your career. And the way you can do that is to surround yourself with the people who will help you and to share with them your goals so they can hold you accountable. We can all do that more in our careers and in our life by surrounding ourselves with the people who will help us advance further. If you're enjoying this podcast, please hit follow so you don't miss any episodes, and please share with others. I hope what you heard today really helps you to lead with purpose.